Hey everybody, and welcome into another edition of Inside the Den. I'm Drew Wilson. I'll be your host for this show as always. Look forward to getting you caught up on everything Wallace State Athletics. Unfortunately, no Voices of the Pride segment this week. Our interview had to reschedule, so we'll get you that one. And excited to chat with some more Lions in future episodes. But for now, we'll just get you caught up on everything that happened last week, where our Lions are in the standings, what's coming up next week, and what to expect over spring break in the weeks to come. And we'll get you caught up on all those things. So bear with me, just me this week, but we'll get you caught up on all the news you need to know, and let's get into it. Okay, first for the results from last week. Men's and women's tennis continued dominant runs with wins over Oxford and Emory, as well as another conference opponent there. So both those teams currently sit undefeated, with the women at number 2 nationally and the men number 1 nationally in men's Division 2 tennis. So Madison Standifer beat a top 5 nationally ranked girl from Emory Oxford, and Will Johnson, who's the 6th best tennis player on our team, took down the number 1 Emory Oxford player. So some very, very impressive performances there from our tennis. Again, women's tennis 15-0 against junior college competition this year, and men's tennis 16-0 with some notable wins over very good teams. Both those teams sit atop the ACCC standings, and we'll get you a look at those a little later in the show. Women's softball team continues their dominant run through the conference with a second 4-game sweep, this time with Shelton State, 2 at Shelton, 2 here at home. And they continue to be highlighted by the performance of Brooklyn Sertel, as well as some hot pitching, and continue a dominant run through the conference with a big showdown this week that we'll cover a little more later in the show. But 4 wins this week, 2 at Shelton, 2 at home. So very, very good performance as they continue the hot start through the conference. Baseball with a little bit more disappointing week. They dropped 3 out of 4, also to Shelton State, dropped both on the road, and split the contest here at Wallace State. So they look to rebound this week with another conference series at Lawson State, but we have faith in those guys and that they'll continue to improve there. So we're looking forward to that. Lots of action for our golf team as they continue tournament play and have look forward to their conference tournaments and national tournaments towards the end of the spring semesters. We'll get you some of those results as we can, but a great time that we've had here with our golf teams, as they both made national tournaments last year and performed well. So looking to do that again here as we get into it. That's all that we had in action last week. Let's get a look now at the standings and conference standings as they currently sit. All right, Lions in the standings. We'll start with our baseball team. Currently sit at 7-5 in a tie for 4th place in conference play. Again, coming off of a disappointing series against Shelton State. Shelton currently sits at 1st in the league at 10-2, but Wallace State right there, 7-5 with a chance to catch back up as they get into a series with Lawson State this week and a few others in the coming weeks. So looking forward to that. Softball continues a dominant run. Softball currently 8-0 in the conference standings, ranked 10th in the country. Again, with a huge showdown coming up. Currently tied with Northeast Alabama and Coastal Alabama at 8-0. But Wallace will get a chance to play Northeast 4 times in the coming week, so that tie will be settled in one way or another. At least part of the tie will be settled this week. Lions also currently 12th in the country. We'll cover that as we get into some of those standings later in the show. But exciting time for women's softball as they look to close out and continue a dominant conference run. Men's tennis, currently 10-0, 2 games clear of Coastal Alabama, who sits at 10-2, with their losses coming at the hands of Wallace State. So the men look in good shape to win a regular season conference crown there, but have to finish strong with several games remaining in conference play. Women's tennis also first place, 9-0 in conference play. Coastal Alabama 10-2. Again, 2 losses, both coming to Wallace State. So very, very much in control there of their own destiny to win a regular season conference crown in women's tennis. That's all for the team sports and where we stack up in conference play. Let's take a look at the teams ranked in the country. Let's take a look at where your Lions stack up with the rest of the country. 4 team sports currently in play with rankings. Three of our teams ranked very highly in the nation in our spring sports. Start with our women's tennis, currently 10th in the standings overall for all of NJCAA tennis. That is good for the second-ranked Division II team in the country. So very, very strong showings and great recognition for our women's tennis team as they continue their rise and continue their great play this year. Men's tennis also ranked very highly in the country, 8th in the whole nation for all of men's tennis. Currently the first ranked Division II team, the highest ranked Division II team, according to the ITA rankings for their sport. So very, very good, obviously dominant showing by our men's tennis team as they'll look to continue that and hopefully with a deep run in the national tournament when that time comes. Your softball team currently top 10, cracked the top 10 for the first time since the preseason poll into the top 10. Currently ranked 10th in the nation behind some very good teams, and they will get a shot to raise that ranking even higher with a showdown with number 2 Northeast Alabama Community College coming this week. We'll talk more about that in our next segment. But that's your rankings. That's where your Lions are currently sit in comparison with the rest of the country. Great time and great time to be a Lion. So let's see where those Lions are playing next. Let's get into the Lions this week. All right, Lions in action this week. First, we'll cover the home matches. At home, Wednesday, March 25th, men's and women's tennis takes on Marion Military Institute. That'll start on the tennis courts at 1 p.m. So looking forward to that. Home also on Thursday, March 26th, softball with a doubleheader versus the second-ranked team in the country, Northeast Alabama. That one starts at 2 p.m. So a top 10 matchup here in Hanceville. You won't want to miss that one. Get out here, call in sick, whatever you got to do. 2 p.m. Start time for that Northeast Alabama matchup of some great softball teams in the NJCAA. So come see us there. Baseball at home this weekend with a doubleheader versus Lawson State starts at 1 p.m. So get here for that one. Second game to follow shortly after the first one concludes in that. On the road, baseball at Lawson State for a doubleheader in Birmingham, Alabama. First game at 12 p.m. there. So if you're in the Birmingham area, go take your lunch break. Check out our Lions there at Lawson State. Men's and women's tennis plays at the Sumter Invitational in Sumter, South Carolina, this weekend, beginning on March 27th. So they'll play some stiff competition there. Look to sharpen their skills as the season here comes quickly to a close with tournament play coming. Men's soccer goes to Faulkner University for an exhibition match, also on Friday, March 27th at 3:30 start time for that one. But we'll close the weekend there. On Saturday, our softball team gets a second crack at the number 2 ranked team in the country, Northeast Alabama. That one will start at 2 p.m. In Rainsville, Alabama. Again, 10th ranked team versus a second ranked team. Looks to be 4 great games for our women's softball team this week. So that's all your Lions in action this week. Be sure to check us out. Follow us on all social medias so you don't miss any schedule changes that tend to happen with these outdoor spring sports. So that's your Lions in action this week. That's all for today. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate you hanging in there with us and getting an update on all things to come. Quick programming note, with spring break next week, unlikely that we'll be able to get you a show, but we'll be back in 2 weeks, first week of April, with a great show. We'll catch you up on everything that happened. It might be spring break for the students, but our athletes will be here and competing regardless. So we'll look forward to catching you up on all that action, and we'll get you back to a Voices of the Pride segment. Looking forward to an exciting one there. We'll get you a visit. We got visits with Brooklyn's Hotel, the women's softball team, as well as our brand new women's soccer coach. We're getting those scheduled as we speak, so you won't want to miss any of those interviews that are coming soon. So be sure you're liking, following, and subscribing to all our shows and attributes on YouTube and Spotify. And make sure you're following us on Facebook, X, Instagram, all social media, so you can keep up to date with everything to do with Wallace State Athletics. Until next time, I'm Drew Wilson. This has been Inside the Den. Go Lions.